Hey everyone, it's Ed Graney, Heidi Fang, Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Behind us is Knights practice. We're going to do that, but before we go to Knights practice here on a Friday, we're going to be our Fantasy Outlaws. We're coming to you with our weekly stop on the fantasy football world, where we give you a bust, a waiver wire pickup, and who we think will be a standout. This guy right here I'm going to give a hard time to. I'm playing Adam Hill in our RJ Fantasy League this week. I'll tell you a little story. Last night I forgot we were actually had guys in the Arizona against Denver game. But I had David Johnson and Demaryius Thomas. Says, hey, maybe I can beat Hill this week. I clicked refresh on my computer, and I had 7.5 points. I glanced over to him. He had 32 points. The game was 4 minutes old, but he had the Denver defense. I'm not happy with this man, so I'll start with you.
It's a good start for me. I'll take it.
Yes, you're projected for 600 points now.
It's a long week, no question about it, but I'm coming off a loss to that lady over there, so I needed to make up for it. My team was angry. They're frustrated. It's time to come out and bust out with a big week.
All right, speaking of busting, you said bust out. Who is your bust for this week?
All right. He just came back last week, had a big week. People are excited. I'm going Mark Ingram. And now listen, he was a game plan dynamo last week. They wanted to use him. They wanted to get him involved. They wanted to get Kamara rest. They did. Now they're playing Baltimore. It is an unbelievable defense. I do think there's going to be some points scored here, as you'll hear later, but I don't think Ingram is going to be as featured as he was last week. They go back to Kamara, and the Baltimore defense stifles any ability to have two guys score for that backfield. So Mark Ingram bust this week.
Bust from Mark Ingram from Adam. Heidi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little under the weather, so keep your distance here.
There's no chance I should be hosting this ever, but I only am doing this because she's sick.
I can't talk. So I'm gonna.
Can you talk long enough to give me a bust?
Yes, I can, and that'll be Greg Olsen. Same like Adam, NFC South guy. We're gonna stick with him because Philadelphia Eagles have a really solid defense against tight ends, and so far only one tight end has scored against them. So I don't think tight ends are gonna do well here against the Eagles D. So Greg Olsen, even though he just got back and had a nice game last week, nah.
There's Greg Olsen Friday. I'm going to do something that I'll regret right when I say it, because you never make goats busts, but I'm going to make the GOAT a bust in Tom Brady. He is favored. The New Patriots are favored going into Chicago. I'm not saying he's going to be a complete bust. I'm just saying there's probably a lot better quarterbacks in terms of matchups and ability to score this week to start. Chicago at home already has 10 sacks in 2 games, 5 takeaways. Khalil Mack has 2 strips. He has struggled when he has struggled, and there's been very few times with aggressive, fast pass rushers. That's what Chicago is. Again, he's probably going to throw 5 TDs, but just look at your matchups if you have another quarterback this week other than Tom Brady to maybe look at playing someone else. I think the Patriots win, but I'm not so sure he gives you a ton of fantasy points. All right, from bust to waiver wire pickup, is there a guy in Week 7 you see out there that people should get?
I'm staying in the same game. I mentioned there wouldn't be a whole lot of points, but there is going to be a lot of points, at some point on the board, and I'm going Willie Snead, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, 38% owned in Yahoo leagues, so he's a guy that's available in a lot of spots. I know he's picked up quite a bit this week, but still only at 38%, and he's got a lot of targets the last couple of weeks. Now, I think he's the third option in the passing game, but he is going against his old team. I think they're going to want to get him involved. This is what we call a narrative game. Snead against his old team, we'll take him.
All right, Snead there. Your waiver pickup.
My waiver pickup is Peyton Barber from the Buccaneers. He's only 51% owned, and I'm surprised about that. He's starting to get rolling along, seeing more share of the carries. Last week, 13 carries, about 82 yards. So I think that he's going to be somebody that we start to see mold more and more into this offense, especially with Jameson Winston back behind the line. So I'm looking forward to seeing Peyton Barber.
All right, I'm a little worried because my guy is minus 5% owned. That would be Ito Smith. But with Freeman going on the IR, look, the thing about Ito Smith is he's played 3 games and scored three straight weeks. So at least he's scoring for you. Tevin Coleman obviously still going to be the guy, but I think they're going to mix in Ito Smith more so. And again, when you have a guy who's scored 3 straight weeks, you take him on the waiver wire. He's not owned by a lot of people, but if you're looking for someone as an RB2 or as a flex guy, he'd be a great flex guy probably in your lineups. All right, so now we go from bust to waiver to standout. The guy we think is going to have a huge week fantasy-wise on any of the teams you might be starting. Mr. Hill, who do you have?
Well, I'm going to go with somebody who has been awful all year, and if you had him, you're probably disappointed. But I'm going with LaShawn McCoy this week, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, the Colts defense started out okay. We thought they were going to be awful. They're starting to get into that awful range a little bit, and he's going to get plenty of opportunity. Derek Anderson, new to the offense, doesn't know a whole lot, so he's going to want to rely on his running back, LaShawn McCoy, the big star that they have. And, by the way, Derek Anderson, while he is probably disappointing, he's by far the best quarterback the Bills have had this year by a mile. So I think it opens a little bit up for McCoy. He'll be able to make plays. He'll get him the ball in space. McCoy does a lot more than he's done in any game this year.
Are you going to laugh at me for one of my picks on my radio show with Clay Baker that I took the Bills in 7.5?
No, like I said, they've got a legit quarterback, and their defense has been playing pretty well lately. So all they needed was somebody who's an NFL caliber quarterback. They don't have that in Peterman or certainly Josh Allen, who's nowhere close to being ready to play in the NFL. So yeah, I think that's probably a valuable pick.
Peterman's not playing, which means Twitter has no chance of blowing up. Heidi Fang, your standout for the week.
I thought for sure Adam was going to say Nathan Peterman was his guy, but not happening. My standout of the week, I've got a wide receiver for you. A juggernaut offense at hand, the Rams. We're going to go with Robert Woods because Cooper Kupp has seen a ton of the targets from the offense from Jared Goff, but this time he's out of this game. I think we're going to have to go with Robert Woods because Brandon Cooks hasn't really been smoking for the Rams as much as I thought he would. So I'm going to go Robert Woods.
I'm going to stay in my game against Adam in the RJ League now that I'm behind 50 points and go with Andy Dalton, also because I have A.J. Green on the team. But I'm going to go with Dalton for a few reasons. One, I think it's going to be high scoring, which most Chiefs games are. The worst point production for a quarterback this year against the Chiefs has been Case Keenum. He still had like 22.5 points. I mean, he wasn't completely brutal. The Chiefs are giving up an average to opposing quarterbacks of about 26, 27 fantasy points. And Andy Dalton, he can fling it. I mean, they keep saying he's not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, but I think in a matchup like this against Kansas City, I also in my picks took the over. It's a big number, 58.5. We'll see how that works out, but I'm going to go Andy Dalton as my standout, and he'll probably lose the game, but I don't care about that. I just want him to get a lot of points so I can try to beat Adam in fantasy. Well, that's it for another weekend of fantasy picks. It's Adam Hill, Heidi Fang, Ed Graney. You get better. You're fine. We will see you next week. We hope all your fantasy picks do well this week. You pick up the right waiver guys, and you win your games. For now, it's the Fantasy Outlaws at the Review Journal, reviewjournal.com. For Ed, Adam, and Heidi, we'll talk to you guys soon.